Motivation, Intrinsic, Extrinsic, and Affect by Carolyn Casey, Michelle DiMatteo, and Christy Freusland. Motivation, as Ormrod 2016 explains, is an internal state that causes one to take action, pushes us in a particular direction, keeping us engaged and energized to pursue various goals. It is also a determining factor in what we actually learn. There are different types of motivation that drive us. Extrinsic motivation is when the source of motivation arises outside of an individual. Intrinsic motivation arises from within an individual. Ormrod 2016 explains that learners can be both extrinsically and intrinsically motivated. It's not just one or the other. Extrinsically, learners are receiving good grades and recognition for completion of work. One acts on their own initiative with intrinsic motivation and, more likely, will not give up even when faced with setbacks. Interestingly, Yu, Dang, and Lim 2016 explain that intrinsic motivation is different from self-efficacy. Quote, self-efficacy reflects an individual's belief that he or she can perform a task, whereas intrinsic motivation describes an individual's reasons for engaging in a particular task. End quote. Yu, Dang, Lim, 2016, page 224. Affect is the feelings, emotions, and general moods that a learner brings to bear on a task. Ormrod, 2016, page 461. Therefore, affect is the full spectrum of emotions from pleasure to depression, excitement to boredom. Affect directly relates to motivation. Affect can be through planning and thoughts about how good or bad you will feel based on the outcome of the task. Ormrod 2016 further explains that individuals try to avoid boredom-inducing activities, which can range from tasks that are too easy or difficult to monotonous tasks. Our need for arousal motivates us to engage in some type of physical or cognitive stimulation.
As previously touched upon, motivation is an individual's desire to place energy into a task. Throughout Ormrod's text, the focus of motivation is directed at the idea of intrinsic and extrinsic factors. Furthering this idea, a study was completed at Illinois State University, focusing on what motivates students to learn. The study found that there is a close relation to goals when looking at motivation, in the sense that the perceived purpose of a task is a critical factor in the quality of engagement. Mastery goals, in relation to intrinsic motivation, rely on a self-referenced approach, which comes from within the individual, whereas ego goals relate to the desire to have others recognize the task that is being completed. In that case, they relate to the extrinsic motivation. These two factors are also impacted by the idea of self-efficacy based on effect, as well as task difficulty. In 2015, a paper focusing on the effects of student perceptions of teachers' motivational behavior was published in the Child Youth Care Forum. This specific article referenced the importance of self-efficacy in relation to a student's motivation. One piece of the article states that academic self-efficacy is described as a self-perception of one's own learning capacity to successfully complete a designated level in specific tasks. This can come from both intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. Additionally, motivation is often affected and impacted by the difficulty of the task. To ensure a student remains motivated, it is important to tailor activities to their level.
Some pros and cons of motivation. Pros: motivation influences behavior, cognition, and learning. It also encourages students to learn and helps students in achievement, Token and Immaculata 2019. A variety of motivations can be available to students in the classroom, many different factors brought in by the teacher. It's not only all intrinsic or extrinsic motivation. It's possible for learners or motives to be both. Some cons: extrinsically motivated students may only do the minimum, the bare minimum needed to successfully complete a task, or they may just copy another student's work to get it done. Too much motivation, the extreme desire to achieve something, can lead to a lot of anxiety, and an individual's general mood can affect learning. Where are they emotionally? Is it in a good mood? Then they're going to do well. Or in a bad mood, or what's happening in their home life could really greatly affect their learning. And self-constructed identities influence behaviors and priorities. I kind of feel this could be a pro or a con, because what do you think you can achieve? How far can you go? Your identity, how do you see yourself, is also a big factor in motivation as well.
An example of how an education technology can be used to support motivation in a learning environment. Integrating a technology to enhance motivation in the classroom can be a driving force of direction, sustainability in interest, and provide a positive attitude for a successful academic performance. English language arts classes, where teaching vocabulary practices in the classroom can be challenging for students to learn, as well as for teachers to maintain interest. Membeam is an example of how an educational technology can be used to support motivation in English language art classes. Membeam is a web-based program that helps students learn the meaning of words and how to use them. The online program provides teachers with innovative tools to build vocabulary. Teachers can choose individual lesson plans that can be customized to skill level using multiple ways to engage learners through audio, video, word pictures, and games to affect students' growth. Task difficulty is set by students' assessment of what they know to continue to engage students to improve. Teachers set an allotted amount of time that students need to complete in Membeam, and assessment is based on individual growth. Students receive a grade based on time completion, allowing them to continue to grow in skill level at their own pace, boosting confidence and motivation. For extrinsic learners, where academic activities are a means to an end, tend to complete the allotted time for an easy grade. Intrinsic learners, with an internal desire to do something, will complete the allotted time, but would also use the vocabulary words to better understand the books they are reading.